And we're back. Is that how I do it?
What's about the boop 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 boop? What is that?
Where's that?
Boop, boop, boop.
We're back.
Yeah.
We should all do that. I think we should all do that.
Yeah, right. Everybody take a turn.
Hold on.
Put that damn phone away.
I'm looking up this. What's Crunch Time in Hollywood?
Oh, we can start.
Okay.
Counting
so-
stocks.
Okay.
What? What did you say?
Penny stocks.
Checking your stocks. I think Nintendo went up. PlayStation.
Okay. So, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is our third movie, and that would be you, Sean.
Okay. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Brand new Quentin Tarantino film. But this wasn't a typical Quentin Tarantino movie in the sense of the blood shooting out of the arm and like, you know, machete. Or was that both Robert Rodriguez?
Robert Rodriguez. But he did,
Did Quentin Tarantino? Well, you know what I mean by Quentin Tarantino.
Pulp Fiction. That's a classic, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, so this wasn't quite a normal Quentin Tarantino film. It was and it wasn't. And I say that because most of his stuff is just it's written, it's made up. It's like he's writing. But this movie has real people in it. Like historical people in it.
Right.
There's people that have been passed away, murdered, in jail, passed away, blah blah blah. The couple main characters, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, I think are made up. I'm not sure that those were
they're
real
made up.
people. They're made up, right? But genius. Okay, so this is the worst best film ever. One of the worst best films ever, and I say that because it's like it's genius.
Yes.
In its
Simplicity.
no, in its complication, actually.
Yes.
In the total, in the full moon of it all. It's genius.
Yeah, it is.
And then I'm sitting there like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Most of them have
Because it's-
stories, and there wasn't a story really.
Yeah. It is typical Quentin Tarantino.
I take that back.
But the
I take
other
that
movies
back.
like Pulp Fiction and that didn't really have a it kind of had a story with Bruce Willis, but not really.
It's so it is like the first things that when I came out of the movie theater, you guys were like, or you were like, what do you think? You're gonna have to wait till tonight, you know. But you know, in talking to John, I was like, the music was great, the clothes were great, the sets were great,
Sets were
cars.
great.
the character,
1960s down.
the characters like the Bruce Lee character and or whoever played him. I don't even know. I don't have
Somebody
those extra
Mo.
names, but genius. He was freaking fantastic. Even the two made up characters, Leonardo DiCaprio, Bruce Willis.
Not Bruce Willis.
Oh my
Brad
God,
Pitt.
Brad Pitt, and who's the Italian?
Oh, the Italian.
Al Pacino. Isn't Al Pacino? Didn't
Yes,
Al Pacino
yes.
play the
Yeah.
play
Yeah,
the
he did.
producer?
Yeah, that's right.
Like he must have been made a
Yes.
character as well.
Marvin
I'm sure.
Schwartz.
Yes, Marvin. Yeah. They each played the roles that they had to fucking perfection.
Yes. They made the movie interesting.
Yeah, because had it just been, I mean, if you're like me, you've seen the Manson killing stories on
million
Cielo
times.
Drives a million times, right? So you know what happened. But this just takes a whole other turn, and it's brilliant. It is just, I mean, I keep using the word genius, but it really is.
It really is.
Like, I don't want to say anything because everything has this little, the woman who plays Sharon Tate, who played
Margot
Suicide Squad
Robbie.
in Suicide Squad.
Margot Robbie.
Fantastic.
They should have used her more, though. I thought they didn't use her enough.
But and
not about
Polanski,
Sharon Tate.
it really, it wasn't about them. I think the story
It's really
about the two
DiCaprio
guys,
and
about those two guys and their friendship, is really, I guess, the storyline. If there is a storyline, that's what it is,
Right.
because it centers around them and this actor Leonardo DiCaprio, who's getting older. Not that he ever does in real life, but because he looks the same.
Yeah.
But he's getting older and doesn't think he can do the work and la la. And Brad Pitt is his stand-in, his stunt double.
Right.
And Brad Pitt's character with his dog and where he lives and how he lives.
But also his personality.
His
He's just so laid back.
personality.
He's so
He's
LA.
like-
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just it's
What's up,
just
dude?
so fucking cool. You know, he is just
He's so fucking
cool.
cool. That's true.
You know, without knowing he's cool, like without being a dick
and cool.
about it. You know,
You know, it's cool to the point of kind of being kind of like, in a way, kind of fearless, but stupid fearless.
Yeah.
yeah,
You don't get into any
yes,
situation because you're fearless, because you just
Right.
that's your personality.
You just do
man.
what you,
You just do what you do.
Yeah.
and then which is completely opposite of Leonardo DiCaprio, who's crying
Exactly.
in his trailer because he's like, I can't remember
he's
my
a nervous
lines,
wreck.
and he's a nervous wreck. And anyway, it's so good. You can break apart everything in this movie and go and do like a check off of
Right.
how it was shot, photography,
Right.
costumes, music, and just check 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, like
Yeah,
all across.
that's true.
If you broke it down. But feeding the dog is a great character too.
Yeah,
I mean,
the dog is great.
Yeah, go see it. Even if you're not a Quentin Tarantino film lover, I think this one is a little different than his norm, because it's part of history. It's part of something that's already happened.
Right.
It's part of a true life thing, a tragedy that happened, and it brings in this just kind of a what if, a potential different outcome,
Right.
you know, of this tragedy. But it doesn't dwell on, you know, it doesn't. It won't make you sad. It won't even really make you think about the actual what happened
Right.
on Celio Drive that
Right.
night, the true story, because you're just stuck in these characters. You just
Yeah.
love them. You want to know what the hell's going on. He's
Right.
in his pool listening to his headphones. You know, it's just brilliant. Yeah, if you're not a Quentin Tarantino fan, this is a movie I would suggest for someone to watch. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I loved it too. And they say it's his ode to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that he went in a particular route, which was more like, you know, the actors win and Hollywood wins in this case. It's
Yeah.
tragic. So, and DiCaprio and was Brad Pitt. I thought the roles were brilliant. Like, I'm looking at two us. You know, both should be nominated for Best Actor because they were just brilliant. You know, DiCaprio is basically he's to me the movie is really about kind of his thing as an actor, that he's aging, but he's aging in, you know, quotes Hollywood aging.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you're still young, but you're too old for Hollywood, and then he comes like the younger actors are coming along. There's, you know, what's the nipping at your heels, and he can feel it already. He's starting to get roles that are no longer the leading man role. He's getting the goon role, the bad guy role, and they tell him that's usually how they start getting rid of you. You start becoming the bad guy. And somebody comes kicks your ass, and then somebody else comes kicks the next movie, and then and he's neurotic, but he wants to, you know, get that big role, and he starts to forget his line. He's just watching his neurosis and how great, you know,
Right.
And it's kind of like probably. I wouldn't, you know, get letters here, but probably how most actors are. you gotta get through the lines. So I'm sure it's very nerve wracking. You know? and his stunt double was his best friend. It seems like he lives in his place sometimes, stays with him. He takes him everywhere, and he drives him. He's also his chauffeur. It's Brad Pitt, who's like the complete opposite.
You know, his name is Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth,
Which
who's
is perfect.
I mean, this guy
For that time period,
I mean,
yes.
he's like been to jail. He's knows martial arts. He can kick anybody's ass. He's so laid back. He's like a surfs up dude, and just like the coolest guy. Basically, he's like, he could be the leading guy in the movie. That's
Yeah.
like the Marlboro Man. That's basically
Yeah.
So, and then I love the movie. All the characters, every person. Even though I was gonna say the Queen, Mary Queen of Scots. No, it's
Margot.
Robbie. Even Margot Robbie didn't have much of a speaking role because the movie's really not about her. You know, everybody was just perfect in it, and I like Tarantino the way he does, where he was showing us a lot of when they show clips of them in movies, he'll show the actual movie and inserts them in the movie,
Right.
as
Yeah.
if they're in it. You know, it's just Hollywood magic. So it's great. I'm sure in the Hollywood community, if you're an actor or whatever, you would just love that too. I love that. That was brilliant.
I think that also, not only were they getting older, but Hollywood was changing. And that's kind of where their 1969 is
Right.
kind of this time. It's the ending of a certain time.
The golden era.
Yeah.
And they're kind of trapped in that time. What I thought was interesting is you said there was no story. You said there was no story, right? No,
Yeah.
You didn't feel.
No.
Well, see, to me, there was a story at the beginning, right? And somehow it comes
What was the
all
story?
the way around.
What was the story?
Well, remember, it's kind of like he was talking about how Roman Polanski lives next door to him.
Right.
And that
yeah,
you
he's
never
his neighbor.
know that, that could
career's dying,
his career's dying, and maybe he'll invite him over and
Right.
he'll make him, you know what I mean? It was like that.
Because that's how those things happen at the parties.
It's who you know. It's who you know.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, and it kind of happens. And that's why it's like a fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
So, and even though it was the Charlie Manson thing, it doesn't really dwell on that. You don't, that part of it has not occurred at this time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
It's
right.
like, so it's not really that's part of it, and it makes it interesting, but that's not really, it's not that part of it, which would make it that story.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. It doesn't
instead
dwell on it.
Yeah.
And another thing is, when I came out of the movie, I was saying, too bad. No, I am not normally a Brad Pitt fan. It's not that I don't like him. He's just too famous. That is like, hey, that's Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to get into the story. But in this movie, I was saying, too bad for Leonardo DiCaprio that Brad Pitt stole every scene.
He did.
He is just, his character is so charming, believable,
And good looking.
yeah, he kind of reminded me of the character in
What's the movie?
the two ladies, Susan Sarandon and
Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and
That was
Louise.
Brad
You
Pitt.
remember that
And
was Brad Pitt.
That was Brad Pitt.
And
Yeah.
kind of like that. It's kind of like this good-looking, easygoing guy. You know what I mean? It was like that. But so it was like, to me, he stole the whole movie. Another thing is, I hate movies that are really violent, and I hate movies that are.
She hates horror.
Yeah, I just don't like that. But
October's coming up.
here's the thing: is for some reason, Quentin Tarantino. I love all his movies. I mean, I thought that
And they're so violent.
I thought True Love was one of the most beautiful love
Romance?
story. True Romance was one of the most beautiful love stories.
He did that movie? That was his?
Yes,
I did not know that.
And the thing is that like Pulp Fiction. I thought Pulp Fiction was one of the most uplifting movies I ever saw. And
Dusk Till Dawn.
And I think
That was good.
it was like, wow, that gives me like hope as a person of humanity, you know. And the movie was so awful, like violent, but I think it's something about Quentin Tarantino.
His style.
There's something about him internally. Like I said, there's some actors who play bad guys, but they're still likable. You just feel that inner person. They're just not as bad.
They could be a nice guy.
No, it's just they're just likable. You know what I mean? Kind of like you were talking about Donald Sutherland and Mockingjay, the Hunger Games.
Yeah, he's likable.
Right, he's likable.
He's horrible, but he's likable.
But there are bad guys that are likable.
Yeah,
and,
the actor's personality seems to come through the screen.
yeah, and I
The
feel
bad
like
guys.
that about his movies are so violent, but they're very humorous. And they're very uplifting for some reason. You know what I mean? It's
They
like-
always have a message.
Yeah, because like there's something good about Quentin Tarantino. I don't know what it is.
Right.
Never met the man, but I know there's something good about him. And when I watch his movies, it's like I should be hating this movie, but it's great.
Good is good.
And actually, I mean, like you say Brad Pitt stole the thing. I think DiCaprio was brilliant in it too.
Me too.
It's just that neurotic.
I don't
They're
think
just
he stole
completely
it
opposite.
either.
To me, they were equal in
Yes.
the level of acting that they
Yeah.
were doing. They were just such complete the opposite characters.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying that
Yeah.
DiCaprio wasn't good.
I mean, some of
I'm
those
just
scenes,
I
like-
just feel the camera loves Brad Pitt, and he
Well,
just was like the sun.
But yeah, we were,
You know
because
what I
he
mean?
was because he was almost like a
He was the steadying.
Zen master,
He was the steadying
So, like,
influence.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when you were getting crazy with DiCaprio with the, like the
All his
Western
moods.
scenes and in the trailer, he's throwing everything. I gotta stop drinking, and he goes, things starts drinking. And then so
He plays crazy good.
yeah, so they're completely opposite. So they, I
Yeah,
think they
this
were
was really
equally-
good. The whole whiny.
They were equal. I'm just saying that
Just the Brad Pitt's
he's-
character was more like a. So
it's not his
relaxed.
character. It's something like
How about the actor too?
this. Yeah, I just felt like, who else is in this scene? I forgot,
Oh,
right?
yes.
No, it's Brad Pitt. And
Yeah.
I told you, I'm not a Brad Pitt
No, she is not.
fan, right? But it was just kind of, you just don't almost notice. Everybody's playing second to him. That's how I feel.
Really?
Like, everybody's playing
Wow.
second to him. Okay.
I have to agree with her on that, actually, because, and not that he's scene stealing or whatever. It's not, well, it's editing and directing,
Right.
it's a whole bunch of shit that goes in, right? But it is what you just said. It's his steadying influence
In the whole movie,
in the whole movie.
he's
that,
a steady one.
He's the right
that
brings the room
everyone
together.
can, yeah, he's the one who brings the room that, like, when he's, I'm thinking now back to the movie, like he does the same thing, like when, like his dog, this movie, like even to the set design, again, like I said, you could break it down to everything. The labels on the dog food cans were fucking brilliant. Whoever designed those dog food can labels was genius. I mean, it was, and you had those in DiCaprio's house, you
Right.
know, and you open the cupboard and there was, these dog food cans. Just fucking laughing.
Yeah,
Like,
actually,
I like the
somebody
way
said
he
that.
tasted it.
Somebody said that this dog should also be nominated
Oh, yeah.
because there was another dog.
The dog was
nominated.
great.
It was the black and white film, the French.
Sure,
was it?
French.
Yeah.
So they said this should be the second dog to be nominated for that film because he had the biggest role in the movie.
the whole
What a face. What a face.
such a cutie. Yeah, he was beautiful.
Here's a-
My turn.
Sorry, we haven't gotten it yet.
So when I watched this movie, I really loved it. But as I was walking out, I was saying to Sean, what did you think of this movie? Because I couldn't really say,
And Sean wouldn't tell us what she thought of this movie.
bitch. No. Anyway, she wouldn't. I just couldn't put it together. What is this movie about? And then I realized the title is Once Upon a Time. I thought, oh my God, it's a fairy tale.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
And, and thank God you told me that because I wouldn't have come to it on my own.
No, you did come to it on your own. You're the one who said it to me, you dork.
No. Well, see, I'm smarter than I think sometimes. Anyway, so when I realized it was a fairy tale, then it all made sense. The set design, and I'm from the 60s, so I see a lot of movies
She was a
that
baby.
No, unfortunately, I
I was a baby in
wasn't.
the
Sure you
60s.
were.
I wasn't a baby,
We were
okay?
babies.
But they really got
I had
the
a baby.
60s down perfect to everything. Like you said, the labeling on the dog food. I mean, I always watch for little things like that. The clothing, the hairstyles, even the visual. I don't know how they did it with what kind of camera they used, but it was
Yeah,
very
I think it's
60s.
also 35 millimeters. He went the classic
Yeah.
look and that kind of.
So when you see it as a fairy tale, you see it like how things could have been. And that's what makes it, puts everything together. But you really should see this movie because it's a fairy tale, just like Fisher King is a fairy tale. Mm-hmm. It's two fairy tales in one.
I think that Quentin Tarantino grew up here. I mean, in
Right.
Hollywood, in this environment,
Right?
and so he's very and very obviously
Esoteric?
he picked it for his career.
Right. Well, he loves everything from
So
the 60s.
he loves that, and you can tell,
Yes.
because he gets it right.
He got it totally right.
You know, like Patty
Yeah.
said, we were around at that time.
Right.
And I remember that time, and I totally believed it. In fact, I was kind of amazed at how did he get the shots? I guess he did it by doing it very fast and going over it really fast. How did he make Hollywood of the 60s look like,
Hollywood of the 60s.
yeah, but now,
Now,
he was
right.
taking real shots.
You know what gives it away? They always get the hairstyles wrong. And the hairstyles were perfect.
Yeah,
You know
because
what I
we
mean?
didn't have hair blowers.
No, people wore long, straight hair.
Or
No
long
curlers,
curly-
or yeah,
long
you
curly
had
hair.
big curlers. That was our big thing. There weren't there weren't those things, and I look for those things because that's usually what gives it away.
Yes.
Hairstyles, the way their clothing is,
And also the language.
yeah.
You know, one of the reasons I hated the 70s show, I didn't hate it.
Right.
I thought it was funny, but it didn't have anything
No.
to do with the 70s.
No, it didn't.
Was the language.
Yeah.
You know, freaky, groovy,
Yeah.
far out. Those things should have been in there all the time. And they never
And
were.
when they did use them, they used them like they didn't know what the word meant.
Yeah,
like it was like very
yeah, you would say freaky or far out is like every other word.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be
cool
like
and groovy. Yeah.
Yeah, groovy.
Yeah, it's like that. This movie was really interesting, and Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio really carry it. But I don't think one stood out more than the other. I just thought they were two different kind of characters.
They were.
And as I said, Brad Pitt was the steadying one. But I've met stuntman, and he played a stuntman
Yeah, brilliant.
perfect.
Yep.
They have those kind of personalities, very down to earth, steady. And I know actors, so
Kind of like test pilots.
kind of, yeah.
they're
That's
very-
exactly
But actually, I thought it was kind of funny because I
Some
thought
might die in
actually,
a crash.
not that he was a mean character or didn't like him or whatever. Leonardo DiCaprio was kind of shitty to him. You know what I mean? You can watch my dog, then you can't, and then I'm gonna. But I thought you said I could stay at your house. I think there was this but. It's kind of like he moves and pushes about because the girlfriend has
Right.
come out. You know what I
he's
mean?
got a wife now, yeah.
But whatever he needs him to be, he's my stuntman.
Right.
You know, and my
he's everything. He does
he's
everything.
chauffeur.
For him, yeah.
But he.
But
does-
you'll find that with
but
actors.
But wait a
They
second.
always have that.
The thing about the character of
Leonardo?
He doesn't mind it.
Cliff,
Yeah.
he doesn't even give it a bat an eyelash.
In
He's
fact,
like
that's a
totally.
scene-
It's
But
there's
that's
no-
really true. With the main actor, if they use the same stuntman,
yeah.
they
but I
become
get-
really good
Yeah,
friends,
but
and
that
they
doesn't
hang.
happen anymore.
In fact, you know
That
how,
was that thing that Hollywood is also changing.
Yeah.
yeah, like there's that one scene where
Yeah, sure.
they sit down and he's gonna put on a film, an episode of one show that DiCaprio's in, where he's driving around and he sits with them and they start, they're smoking and drinking and watching it. And DiCaprio's like, look at me, here comes my scene, whatever. And
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt is like, yeah, man, you gave it to them. He's like so supportive. Like, see to it. You think by now you'll be
Because
you'll be
his
so
ego
tired.
is so in the
You
different
will be so
place.
tired of it by now, but it's like, oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
His ego is so set in a different place,
Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Yes,
And
exactly.
then Leonardo DiCaprio. So it doesn't, I mean, we all know actors and actresses.
No, it's actually
They need that.
And actually, he probably based it on a stuntman's and a leading man's, aging leading man's
Right.
Yeah,
character.
exactly.
I'm
That's
sure
what
he's
do, yeah.
met a zillion of them.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and how but it is a fairy tale because it has a happy ending.
So if you
in
go
a
see this
funny
movie-
way. If you can make Charlie that's what I'm saying about Pulp Fiction.
The guy
If
who
you
played
can
Charlie
make-
Manson was uncannily looked like him.
Yeah, but I was
It's
gonna
freaky.
say it's like that you can make a Charlie Manson connection positive. He did. That's all I'm saying.
I have an interesting story.
genius.
Interesting story here. I was going to work sometime, I think it was
yeah?
last year, and I'm doing sound. I was doing sound for
That's
a
mine.
comedy
That's mine.
show.
That's mine, Sue.
I was doing sound for a comedy show, and I couldn't find parking. The streets were
just-
closed, and the street where my job is, that street was closed off. So I had to find. I went and parked in the back. And I'm pissed out, and I'm gonna be late. I'm walking around. There's police everywhere.
Right.
And as I'm walking towards the street that I work at, I'm seeing all these cars just making a U-turn, just driving back and forth U-turn.
But old.
All Mustangs, Camaros, Chevelles. It's just the most beautiful muscle classic cars. It's like, wow, what's going on here?
it's your
I thought it
thing.
was a car show. It's like, oh, is that a car show? Is that where they closed it? So I gotta investigate a little further. And then I come up on the corner to where I work, and all the comedians that were supposed to perform are outside, and there was just a big crowd looking around. And then I finally come up to the one of them and go, oh, look, they're filming. And right across the street is a huge crane with a camera, lights. And they go, yeah, they're filming some movie about Hollywood. And there's Quentin Tarantino standing right across the street. And there he was with his arms crossed just right there. And it's, some movie about Sharon Tate or whatever, Charles Manson. And they go, and there's a whole bunch of female comedians. They go, hey, we heard Brad Pitt is in it, so we're crossing our fingers.
So, are we gonna? Let's see.
I give
Let's
it a
rate
10.
I give it an 8.
10.
Yeah, I give it a 10.
I give it a 10 too. It was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
Okay,
that
so-
we're coming up to.
No.
We'll be back.
Good.